Who would you say has the most to gain or lose this preseason on the Cleveland Browns? Dorian Thompson Robinson and Cedric Tillman have the opportunity this preseason to solidify their futures in Cleveland and can even expedite their paths to becoming key contributors to this offense in the near future. Last year, both DTR and Cedric Tillman had some amazing, bright, shining moments in their rookie campaigns, but they had an equal amount or maybe even more head-scratching, frustrating ones. So today I want to run through exactly why I believe they have so much to gain or lose and why I think that they are much more than just practice squad type players. So let's start with DTR. By no means was DTR close to looking comfortable when he was on the field last year. He was erratic against the pass rush, threw off platform a lot, especially in times when he didn't need to, and he missed a ton of easy, quick game layup throws. However, there were other times where he was playing purely instinctual, and he displayed exactly what it was that made the Browns fall in love with him and draft him in the 5th round last year. DTR is a highly emotional and fiery player.
Get this guy here and I know what this game about. Come on, go in there and kick these motherfuckers.
He's an undersized quarterback who will throw all of his small frame around into defenders to lead block for whoever is carrying the ball. And he's someone who also isn't afraid of contact when he's carrying the ball himself. And although these are positives in theory, this is where DTR is going to have to dial himself back and become more composed. This is what he can prove this preseason. Can he be the guy who can hit the layups? Can he stay calm in the face of pressure and stay mechanically sound? And can he understand when to turf the ball, to give up, and to live to fight another down? The thing, unlike last year, is that DTR is not fighting for the number 2 spot. That is Jameis Winston's 100% of the way. So DTR is in a battle for the number 3 spot on this roster with Tyler Huntley. But beyond being the 3rd string quarterback, or eventually becoming the 2nd string quarterback again if Jameis isn't re-signed next season, I firmly believe that there is still a pathway where we might see DTR be the starting franchise leading quarterback for the Browns one day down the line. No, he is nowhere close to being a starting quarterback in the NFL, but you can see that he has a skill set that is much different than a lot of the backup quarterbacks around the NFL in general. He has a skill set that is very conducive to the modern playmaking dual threat NFL quarterback. He can run, he has a ton of zip on the ball, and we all know how we love zip in Cleveland, and he's a natural born motivator. I was at the Steelers-Browns game that he started last season, and on that final drive, you could feel the command that he had. The throw he made to Elijah Moore to start off the drive on that deep curl route was just so faithful in his own ability, and it showed the killer instinct that some guys just have and other guys just don't. And throughout that game as a whole, he was making a lot of plays with his feet and with his arm, and a lot of those plays should have been capitalized on, but they were dropped by his receivers. Even in the following week against Denver, yes, he was missing the layups, which we're going to go into deeper, but he was delivering the ball in situations where it should have been caught and it simply wasn't. As a whole, though, you can't blame the receivers because, like I previously mentioned, DTR doesn't hit the layups. That is the biggest thing limiting his ability to even be the 2nd stringer. It's why they lost faith in him last year. He did so well in the preseason, but then kind of folded and was thrown to the Wolves, having his first start be against the Ravens. In general, DTR needs to show that he can be consistent in the basics, where he can be dropped in and run this offense if something happens to Watson or if something happens to Winston as well. This is the biggest thing that the casual fan needs to understand. If you can make this play, then you should be able to make this throw 9 out of 10 times. So I mentioned that I think that there is some path in existence in some universe where we could see DTR be the Browns' franchise leading quarterback one day. This does not mean that I think there is a quarterback competition this year or next. Deshaun Watson is the number 1. He's the number 1 option. He is what will make this team sink or swim in terms of their final result. But let's consider that over the rest of Deshaun Watson's current contract, if we don't get to an AFC championship, I do not think that the Browns would re-sign him. I think that they would blow it up. They would keep the core pieces, you know, the Garretts, the JOKs, the best defensive backs of the group, but they would let Watson walk, and then they would be looking for answers. They're probably not going to be bad enough to ever get a top 5 pick to get a top quarterback prospect. So I think that they are grooming DTR to be that transitionary quarterback, or the guy who can build off of the groundwork that has been laid with this current regime right now. And obviously that is not the ideal plan whatsoever, but just to say it is a reality. So that is why it is so important that DTR continues to develop, and it starts this preseason. He has to win that number 3 spot. He has to stay on the roster and relevant to the development of the team as a whole. And now he will be the center stage of my focus, along with the next player that we're going to talk about, Cedric Tillman. With all of the reports and mini video clips and everything that we've been seeing coming out of the Browns camp so far, it seems like Cedric Tillman is having a really good sophomore campaign. And 2 things are pretty clear right now. Brandon Ayuk is not going to be a Cleveland Brown, and Amari Cooper is probably not going to be re-signed next year. Jerry Jeudy was brought in on a 3-year deal to hopefully become the successor to Cooper, become the true number 1 X receiver option. And I think ideally the Browns would hope that Tillman can make the jump this year and become the team's true number 2 wide receiver. Because additionally, I don't know if they're going to sign Elijah Moore once his rookie contract is up. They want to see the development happen within these young receivers they've drafted. And I really do believe that Cedric Tillman has the complete skill set to do that. It just comes down to one thing: the mental side of the game, understanding where he needs to be pre-snap and what his assignment is once the ball is snapped. No, Tillman didn't score a touchdown last year. He had some close moments, but he had a lot of great plays that if you break them down more, you can see the raw ability within them. It is a ton to be able to mold, and you could see how this guy could become a serious threat in the Browns system this year and beyond. These raw abilities are largely his frame. He has very long arms. He's tall, a true 6'3". He can jump out of the gym. He's fast, he's good with the ball in his hands after the catch, but more than anything, he is a true hands catcher. There are a couple curl routes last year where he's coming back, working back to the ball, and defensive backs trying to fight through his frame, and he just plucks the ball out of the air so beautifully. He does this really well on slant routes too, because again, these smaller DBs have to try and play through his body. He extends the hands. They can't make a play on the ball. And that is super, super valuable to quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks who've been struggling with accuracy. And like I said, there were only a few moments. I believe he only had 21 catches and a little over 200 yards last year, but there were a few times he was one broken tackle away from going to the house on these long catch and run plays. You could see he just needs to get into that second gear and he's going to take off. But like I said, his limitations come from everything pre-snap and in the meeting room and in the playbook. In terms of his actual on-field performance issues, there were a couple moments where he's getting choked out at the line of scrimmage by a press corner, or like the play against Chicago where, you know, most fans would say, oh, it was just a great hit, or the quarterback's got to get a better ball. Cedric Tillman has to box out and use his frame, make an adjustment, and make the quarterbacks throw right. That is what they're going to say in a receiver's room. And again, these are very fixable things, so that's great. But the larger issue is the playbook as a whole. Can he execute at 100%? When you're unsure, you're never able to play at your full potential. When you have to think when you're out there, you can never play at your full potential. So Tillman has to become so comfortable that he can let his natural skill set take over and dominate. If he cannot get the playbook down, and he does not display that very early on in the preseason and the regular season when he gets his opportunities, Cleveland will continue to look to bolster this receivers room in free agency and with trades. And he could very quickly see himself become just another Anthony Schwartz. In terms of the receiver room, Cedric Tillman is the fourth option right now. It's Cooper, Judy, Moore. Tillman is the swingman, and the swingman is the first man in any of those three spots if they go down for the most part. But here's the issue. They drafted Jamari Thrash largely because Cedric Tillman did not advance to become the player they thought he would in his rookie season last year. So there is an immediate competition. So that's another thing to look out for. Jamari Thrash, very excited about drafting him. He is an amazing skill set, beautiful route runner, very explosive after the catch, a lot of the Antonio Brown traits, Brandon Ayuk traits that we've seen, but very, very raw. So Cedric Tillman doesn't have much more time to develop. He has to show that he is ready to contribute now. And it would really be a shame because, like I said, Tillman is a great hands catcher. He has all the size and speed you would ever need. He is a really, really good run blocker as well. Tillman needs to become more than just what DPJ was, a really good piece who never quite made the next step in his playmaking ability. He will not have the opportunity to be a dynamic playmaker until this coaching staff and front office sees that he can nail the basics right, and he's earned the right to run, the sluggos that we saw him running in practice, the outs and ups, the specialty routes that the skilled route runners get to run. That is something that you earn over time, or that your skill set blatantly shows that you need to be utilized in this way. But to be a complete receiver, to get all those routes, to be a consistent contributor in the short game, plus a deep threat, you have to show that you're complete. And that starts in this preseason game against the Packers. These young guys who are on the bubble, they have to make a separating move now. They need to show out, treat this like it is game day, because it might be the most reps you'll get all year. Prove that you deserve to be around and go out and dominate and earn your right to be a contributor this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. We have a ton of stuff coming this year. We're going to do live streams Sunday nights after the games. We're going to do a recap video and preview. So a lot more than the one video a week that we were doing last year. Trying to make this a full-time thing. So your guys' support means everything. If you could subscribe, hit the bell, send this to a friend. And additionally, if you want to support the page, stickers, we just dropped a new one. You can buy it at optimisticfanclub.com. And this all helps to just reinvest, get better lighting, cameras, mics, all these things, so we can give you really high produced stuff. Thank you guys. We'll see you in the next one.